Talking Trees with Lily and Jad. Welcome to this week's recap episode of Talking Trees. This time we're covering a diverse range of arboricultural topics, from tree physiology and stress responses, like the formation of epicormic shoots and rescue techniques for tree climbers, to tree anchoring methods, growth architecture analysis, and care for aging trees. We'll also spotlight the services of a Spanish arboricultural company. Let's dive into these insightful discussions.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive into all things arboreal. This week, Talking Trees had a really interesting mix of practical topics, from rescuing climbers to urban forestry in Spain.
Yeah, I thought it was a great variety, too.
So where do we want to jump in first?
Well, I was really interested in Monday's episode about those little sprites you sometimes see on tree trunks.
Oh, yeah.
Epicormic shoots.
Yeah, epicormic shoots, right?
Exactly. And it turns out they're not just random growth. They're actually a sign that the tree is stressed.
Interesting. So it's like a cry for help?
Kind of. It could be anything from drought to injury to even just too much pruning.
So the tree's trying to compensate, like put out more leaves to get more sunlight.
Exactly. They're trying to increase their ability to photosynthesize and protect their trunk from sun damage.
Makes sense. Now, I've always just kind of assumed those shoots were unsightly and, needed to be pruned away.
Well, and that's actually where things get interesting, because some arborists are pushing back on that prune-happy approach. They're saying that removing those shoots too quickly, especially on a stressed tree, can actually hinder its recovery.
So it's like we're taking away its coping mechanism.
Yeah, basically. It's all about finding that balance between, aesthetics and the tree's overall health.
So before you grab the pruners next time, it might be worth taking a closer look and seeing if those epicormic shoots are trying to tell you something.
Exactly.
I like that. Well, speaking of understanding trees, Tuesday's episode took us on quite the adventure with tree climbing rescue.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm guessing that takes a very specific set of skills.
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole other level of expertise. The episode really emphasized the meticulous planning and training involved, keeping everyone safe.
Right.
They talked about different techniques like MRT and SRT, which basically have multiple systems in place in case of an emergency.
So redundancy is key. It sounds incredibly technical. And to me, what really stood out was the importance of regular training. Not just knowing the techniques, but actually practicing them in realistic scenarios.
Right, because in those situations, you need to be able to react quickly and calmly.
Exactly. It's not just about the knowledge, it's about that muscle memory.
Yeah, that's when experience really comes into play.
All right, so we've covered stress signals and high-stakes rescues. What else caught your ear this week?
Well, let's maybe bring things back down to earth a little bit and talk about anchoring systems. Wednesday's episode really focused on how important it is to choose the right support for your tree. And it's not as simple as just grabbing any old stake from the garden center.
I'll admit I've probably been guilty of that myself. What makes the choice so important?
Well, it's all about giving the tree the best possible start. A well-anchored tree is more likely to establish itself quickly, grow strong, and withstand wind and weather. But just like with pruning, there's a lot more to it than you might think at first.
I'm sensing a theme here. So what are some of the things to consider when choosing an anchoring system?
Well, it depends on a bunch of factors, like the size and species of the tree, the soil type, even the local wind conditions. They talked about everything from simple stakes to these more elaborate underground systems.
Got it.
Each with its own pros and cons. Like stakes, they're common and easy to use, but they can interfere with root development if they're not installed properly.
So again, knowledge is power when it comes to trees.
Yeah.
Even something as seemingly straightforward as planting a tree involves making some informed choices.
Exactly. And that's something Talking Trees does really well. They give you the information you need to make those choices.
Yeah, I love that about this show, too. There's always these hidden layers of complexity that you wouldn't think about.
Definitely.
Well, our deep dive this week is far from over. We still have tropical tree architecture, Spanish tree doctors, and even a peek into the world of caring for veteran trees to get to.
Yeah, lots to cover still. All right, so where were we? Oh, yeah, Talking Trees.
Yeah, ready for more?
Lots more to uncover. Well, how about those tropical trees?
Oh, yeah, Thursday's episode with all the crazy shapes.
Yeah, a visual feast for sure. It was all about how those trees develop, their architecture.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I got a little lost with some of the terms they use.
Yeah, some of it is pretty technical.
Like, what was the difference between monopodial and sympodial growth again?
Okay, so Imagine a skyscraper shooting straight up. That's monopodial growth, like a classic Christmas tree shape.
Okay, I could picture that.
And then sympodial growth is more like a city sprawling outwards with the main trunk branching out to make a wider crown.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's about whether the main trunk keeps going straight up or branches out.
Exactly. And, it all comes down to the environment where the tree grows.
Right, right. Different strokes for different folks.
So in a dense rainforest where they're all competing for sunlight, those tall, straight monopodial trees have the advantage.
Makes sense.
But in a more open area, those spreading sympodial trees can really maximize their exposure to the sun.
It's like evolution has shaped them perfectly for their environment.
Totally. And then there's the way the branches grow, which adds another layer of complexity.
Oh, yeah. They talked about plagiotropic and orthotropic branching, right?
Yeah, so plagiotropic branches grow horizontally, like arms reaching out, and orthotropic branches grow more vertically, reaching upwards.
Okay. I think I'm starting to remember.
And you know what influences those patterns?
Let me guess. Sunlight, gravity.
You got it. But also wind and even competition from other trees.
It's amazing how all those factors play together.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance between genetics and environment, and the result is that incredible diversity of tree forms we see around the world.
Every time I think I'm starting to understand trees, there's a whole new level.
Always more to learn, right?
Okay, well, from the tropics, Friday's episode took us to Spain with that, what was it called?
Dr. Arbol.
Dr. Arbol, yeah, that arborist company doing amazing work in cities.
Yeah, they're really pushing the boundaries of urban tree care.
I was particularly impressed with their risk assessment expertise.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial in urban areas. Falling branches can be a real hazard.
Exactly. They talked about how important it is to have regular inspections by qualified arborists.
Yeah, to look for things like weak branches or signs of decay.
You even developed technology to monitor the health of trees, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like giving them a voice so they can tell us when they need help.
And they don't stop there. They're also experts in transplanting large trees.
Yeah, that's a whole other level of skill.
I can't even imagine trying to move a mature tree.
It's a huge undertaking, but it shows their commitment to preserving those valuable trees.
Right, because sometimes a tree needs to be moved instead of removed.
Exactly. Like if there's construction happening, Dr. Arbol can give that tree a second chance in a new location.
It's like they're weaving nature into the fabric of our cities.
I like that.
Okay, so from preserving trees in the city to caring for some really old trees, Saturday's episode focused on veteran trees.
Yeah, the grandfathers and grandmothers of the forest.
I love that. And they need a different kind of care, right?
Exactly. Those trees have already figured out how to survive for centuries.
Yeah.
So we need to respect their wisdom and resilience.
So what kind of care do they need?
Well, they talked about light management. So basically, thinning out the vegetation around the veteran tree.
To give it more sunlight.
Exactly. It's like giving them a little extra space to breathe.
And what about their roots?
Yeah, root protection is super important. Minimizing soil compaction, using mulch, things like that. It's all about creating the best conditions for the tree to thrive without interfering too much.
I'm seeing a pattern here with the Epicormic shoots and the anchoring system.
Yeah.
It's like it all comes down to understanding what the tree needs and working with nature.
That's it. That's the essence of talking trees.
Yeah.
Deepening our understanding so we can be better stewards of these amazing trees.
Well said.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about all the different ways we can care for trees, you know?
Yeah, me too. It's fascinating stuff.
And you mentioned some ethical considerations around epicormic shoots. That really piqued my interest.
Oh, yeah. So remember how some arborists are saying we shouldn't be so quick to prune those shoots away, especially on a stressed tree?
Right. Like we could be hindering its recovery.
Exactly. But it goes deeper than that. It's about, it challenges how we think about what's best for the tree.
I see what you mean.
Like, is it really our place to decide what a tree should look like? Or should we respect its natural processes, even if it means it looks a bit messy?
Right, because those shoots are there for a reason.
Yeah, the tree is trying to communicate something to us.
And that brings us to that whole idea of tree communication, which is something Talking Trees keeps coming back to.
Yeah, and scientists are learning more and more about how trees communicate through underground networks of fungi, even through the air.
Wow, so they're sending messages back and forth.
Yeah, it's like a whole hidden language we're just starting to understand.
And that raises all sorts of ethical questions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Like, are we interfering with those conversations when we prune them? Or when we change their environment in other ways?
Yeah, it's like we need to learn some tree etiquette.
Haha, right.
Yeah.
Before we go barging in and disrupting their social lives.
It's amazing to think about, like, we're part of this intricate web of communication, even if we don't always realize it.
And that's what I love about talking trees. It reminds us that trees are more than just decorations. They're living beings with their own needs and ways of communicating.
Well said.
Yeah.
And it makes you want to learn more and do better by them, you know?
Exactly. It's all about deepening our understanding and appreciation so we can be better stewards of these amazing trees.
I couldn't agree more. Well, a huge thank you to Talking Trees for another week of fascinating insights, and all of you listening for joining us on this journey into the world of trees. Keep these ears perked, and we'll see you back here next time for another deep dive.
Thank you for joining us for this week's recap episode of Talking Trees. We hope you enjoyed exploring the many facets of arboriculture, from technical practices to sustainable tree care approaches. If you'd like to support our work and access exclusive content, visit herohero.co/talkingtrees. Your enthusiasm keeps us growing, and we look forward to sharing more knowledge and stories next time. Until then, take care and keep celebrating the beauty and value of trees.